welcome to this session once again, a session that is dedicated to debunking Mutahi Ngunyi lies. As the general election draws to a close, the following are some of the lies that have not been fulfilled according to Mutahi Ngunyi's prophecies. We can say that they are Mutahi Ngunyi prophecies that have actually failed to be realized. According to Mutahi, NASA was actually a government project sponsored by Uhuru Kenyatta. With time, we have seen that this has been a lie. This has been a propaganda by Mutahi Ngunyi, who continues to try and confuse the electorate, especially his Jubilee followers. Today, we can see clearly that NASA was a collective effort of 4 individuals, and since then, Isaac Ruto has already joined them as one of the NASA principals. According to Mutahi Ngunyi, in 2002, Raila Odinga left the new KANU regime after merging the KANU party with his National Development Party. Raila left because Moi betrayed him. Moi had promised him that he would be the presidential candidate. Then at the last minute, Moi betrayed Raila, forcing him to leave, or forcing Raila to quit KANU and to join, Kibaki under a newly formed National Rainbow Coalition. So by leaving or by quitting KANU, Raila Odinga more or less devastated the party. He is the one who disorganized this party and contributed to the loss of that election by KANU, because Raila walked away together with all his supporters. That is, he walked away with members of the Luo community. He convinced Kalonzo Musyoka to quit KANU, and then they all joined the National Rainbow Coalition, while Mudavadi remained behind because he had been cheated by being given the post of vice president. So Mudavadi thought that Uhuru would win that election because Moi had been rigging election all the time. So Mudavadi thought that Moi would rig that election, Uhuru will become the president, and Mudavadi would become the vice president. This was the arrangement at that time. So what Mutahi Ngunyi was trying to explain, or what Mutahi Ngunyi was trying to hypothesize, is that Kalonzo and Mudavadi could recreate that 2002 situation. This has not happened. Why? Because these situations are completely different. That is, when Raila left KANU, he left because he had been betrayed. There is no reason for either Kalonzo or Mudavadi to quit NASA, because none of them have been betrayed by anybody. In fact, they have all been trying to discuss to come with one presidential candidate, and they almost held the whole country to ransom as these discussions ran up and down. So this analysis that the 2002 situation could be recreated by Kalonzo Musyoka and Mudavadi did not actually work out because of different circumstances. Mutahi has openly been saying that the NASA Technical Committee is headed by Orengo. And according to Mutahi, Raila Odinga would become the automatic NASA candidate because since Orengo is heading the committee, Orengo would influence that committee to give Raila the presidency or to give Raila the NASA candidacy. This too has not happened, because we have seen that the work of the technical committee was to come up with the legal documents that could bind the principals together so that they could stick to their deal after they seized power in August 2017. It had nothing to do with choosing the presidential candidate. In fact, what the technical committee did was to make a recommendation that could also have been rejected by the principals. So in this case, Orengo, even though he was the head of the technical team, was not actually calling the shots as Mutahi Ngunyi was trying to propose. And in this way, Mutahi Ngunyi's lie that Orengo would automatically make Raila Odinga the NASA candidate has been exposed. According to Mutahi Ngunyi, he really believed this, that Raila Odinga could force a runoff with Uhuru Kenyatta, but first by convincing his friends to run independently, to run concurrently. That is, Kalonzo Musyoka becomes a presidential candidate, Mudavadi becomes a presidential candidate, Wetangula and Raila all becoming presidential candidates, with Uhuru Kenyatta running against Uhuru Kenyatta. And that in this way, one of them would emerge with the greatest number of votes, and that under that scenario, they could easily, force a runoff with Uhuru Kenyatta, because in round one, nobody would win. This lie has also since been exposed. I said at that time that there is no way the four principals were going to accept to run concurrently, because then they were going to be defeated by Jubilee, which was easily going to rig the election. This lie has now come to pass. The candidates are not running concurrently, and Mutahi Ngunyi's dreams of a runoff with Uhuru Kenyatta is not going to happen. NASA has the numbers, and Jubilee is going to be beaten round one. Mutahi Ngunyi was trying to imply that there is a groundswell against Raila Odinga in NASA, and that the role Mudavadi and Kalonzo are going to play in NASA is basically a disruptive role. This is Mutahi Ngunyi's, hypothesis, so-called hypothesis, that there was going to be some kind of disruption. What Mutahi did not recognize is that you enter into a disruption in a situation in which you have been forced into action. You have been forced into something. So you want to disrupt and destroy it. This is not the spirit that brought together the NASA candidates. The NASA candidates were brought together by an urge to remove Jubilee from power. So when you try to say that there will be someone trying to disrupt the process as if people had been forced into the NASA coalition, is to pursue a false line of reasoning. Mutahi could have been right if Kalonzo had been forced into NASA, or if Mudavadi had been forced into NASA. Wetangula had been forced into NASA. But this has not been the case, because Isaac Ruto came much later, after a deal was struck. So this lie has also been overtaken by events, and it has been exposed with the passage of time. Then, another lie. At one point, Mutahi Ngunyi told us that NASA is dead. That NASA is dead. Today, NASA is not just alive, but NASA has a presidential candidate. NASA is organizing to announce its manifesto. NASA is taking up Jubilee. And the Jubilee camp is actually in panic after Raila Odinga was appointed the presidential candidate of NASA. NASA is not dead, as Mutahi wanted it to die, or as Mutahi had hypothesized. So the NASA is dead hypothesis is what is actually dead. There was a time when NASA had, problems internally because there was a lot of negotiations going on. At that point, Mutahi Ngunyi predicted that Kalonzo would actually walk out of NASA and then declare himself as the NASA candidate, and that in this way he would force Raila to support him. This has not happened as we see it today. Kalonzo is the vice president designate, that is the running mate of Raila Odinga and NASA. This lie has been overtaken by event. It has been exposed through the passage of time. It is one of the many lies Mutahi Ngunyi continues to spew each and every week on his Twitter account and on his YouTube account. What is the next lie? Then there is this time when Mutahi said that Raila must go, because Raila was not just old, he was a used politician, he was a slow-punctured politician. Raila's time is up, Raila will never be king, Raila is, this and that. I mean, you have heard it. Without Raila Odinga, Mutahi Ngunyi is not in business. This particular hypothesis that Raila must go, or that Raila will eventually be made to go, has itself gone. It is that hypothesis that has gone, because Raila is today the NASA presidential candidate. So, Mutahi, swallow your lies. Another fantastic lie Mutahi was telling us, honestly, was that Mudavadi would organize a coup in NASA together with Kalonzo and Wetangula. Today, Mudavadi did not just organize a coup, but Mudavadi has emerged as one of the key unifying factors in NASA. NASA was his idea. Mutahi told us that NASA is Uhuru Kenyatta's idea. NASA was Mudavadi's idea. Mutahi Ngunyi came and told us that NASA was Uhuru's creation to retire Raila from politics, and that the Uhuru government set up NASA so that NASA can confuse Raila through Mudavadi, that they were in some kind of unity with Wetangula and Kalonzo Musyoka, and that in the end, all of them would abandon Raila, and then they would run away with NASA. They would form an alliance between Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Wetangula, and I don't know who. Then Raila would remain alone. And even he went further. He said that in such a situation, Raila would actually stand as an ODM candidate. He would run for president under an ODM ticket. This is what Mutahi told us. What are we seeing today? We are seeing Raila as the main NASA candidate. So the lie that Mudavadi would set up some kind of coup has eventually been vanquished.